So many people have been saying that Loki could be a type of Zoan. The popular ones I have heard is some sort of bird Zoan or that of a dog Zoan, a wolf specifically. So in 1142, we see that Loki is almost free, but seeing as how he has a sea stone shackle around his ankle, we won't be seeing any Dofu powers yet. Though, even though I do think there is going to be a Fenrir fruit in the future, seeing as how that is an actual legend in One Piece as the children draw it, as due to someone's powers, I think it could be Killingham's powers. We see a representation of the Fenrir come out into a manifestation supposedly of the children's nightmares or whatever. So we know that the myth exists. So seeing as how this myth exists, it probably is a Dofru onto itself somewhere out in the world. But when we get to the idea of Loki having a bird fruit, the idea goes like this. Seeing as how he has a feathered tattoo, that could relate to his abilities in a similar way to how Kaido had a scaled tattoo on his arm that is a reference to him becoming a dragon. And then two, dragons and fish both have scales, so it works out in his favor as his dragon fruit is technically a fish fruit. I get all of that. However, the reason why I don't think Loki has a Zoan fruit at all is because we actually see a very familiar winged tattoo come up in someone who's not a Zoan. Do you remember Charlotte Katakuri? Charlotte Katakuri had a tattoo on his side. It was a very complex tattoo because on the front, it looks like a very intricate design, which leads it to a skull-like pattern that's on his arm. But then on his scapula, you see that he has a wing tattoo, which leads into some lines going down into his waist. So with that being said, Charlotte Katakuri's powers were that of a special paramecia in being the Mochi Mochi fruit. So with that being said, like I've said in so many videos now, I think based on we being introduced to resin at the start of the Elbaf arc in Rhodes Toy Country with the giant Lego box, and seeing as how the Giants have some idea of what Nika looks like, seeing as how he is a figure who is human shaped, covered in white clouds, I am of the belief that once again, Loki has a special paramecia fruit, and that fruit has something to do with either resin or rubber, making him a literal plastic man. Because I would think if the legends are as detailed as they seem, in which Kuma knows that Nika has a rubbery body and then Bonnie then copies that, the Giants probably know too that he has a rubbery body on top of being surrounded by white clouds. So if Loki's calling himself the sun deity and knew that the fruit that he stole from Harold contained a power that's very much like the sun deity, it would make sense for that fruit to allow him to become rubber-like, to become stretchy and produce this sort of white cloud, or to have white form around him. So that's why I think he is the resin man or the plastic man, as opposed to being a Zoan of any sort. But with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What?